This presentation is a general safety overview for seasonal farm workers at Strawberry Tyme Farms. In order to work safely at your job, you must know the law, the company rules, any hazards you might encounter, how to work safely, as well as your rights and responsibilities. This poster must be posted in the workplace, and the Health and Safety at Work poster outlines the Ontario Health and Safety Act duties of the employer and the worker. Internal responsibility system is based on the principle that everyone in the workplace works together to keep the workplace safe. There are different responsibilities on the farm, and everyone on the farm is responsible for health and safety. The farm employer, farm supervisor, family members, and the farm workers. The employer's responsibilities are to provide safe workplace, training, hazards, hazard control, provide personal protective equipment, and first aid when necessary. The employer must ensure that equipment and materials and protective devices provided by the employer are maintained and in good condition. The employer must provide information, instruction, and supervision to a worker to protect the health and safety of the worker. When appointing a supervisor, the employer must appoint a competent person, someone who knows the job, knows the hazards, and knows the law. The employer must make workers aware of any hazards in the work that they're doing so they know how to deal with them. The employer must assist the worker health and safety rep in dealing with worker safety concerns as they arise. The employer must take every precaution reasonable in the circumstances to protect the worker. The employer must post a copy of the Ontario Health and Safety Act and explanatory materials, and post the company health and safety policy, which is updated annually. You will find this information in the office, and you are welcome to review it at any time. Check these postings often because they're here for you. The worker and the Ontario Health and Safety Act. Workers under the Occupational Health and Safety Act for Agriculture have both responsibilities as well as rights. You have the right to participate and be part of the health and safety process in your workplace. You have the right to know about hazards in your workplace, and you have the right to refuse unsafe work when you believe it is dangerous. The law in Ontario protects you from discipline or reprisals for exercising your rights. You have the right to participate in decisions about the health and safety through your worker safety rep and your safety committee. You have the right to know about hazards in your workplace. Workers have the right to refuse unsafe work if they have a good reason to believe that the work is unsafe. It is your responsibility to work safely, take training, use safety devices, report hazards, housekeeping, and emergencies. It is your responsibility to work in compliance with the Ontario Occupational Health and Safety Act. As a worker, you must use safety equipment and protective devices that your employer requires you to wear. You must report hazards to your supervisor. You must operate equipment and work in a safe manner. No worker shall engage in any prank, contest, feeder strength, or any inappropriate, unsafe behavior. A worker must not remove or make ineffective any shields or guards that are required by regulations or your employer. The Ministry of Labour Health and Safety Inspectors have two main roles. They inspect to ensure compliance with the Act and regulations, and they investigate critical injuries or fatalities, as well as any complaints and work refusals. Inspectors can stop work and lay charges to anybody. When the inspector sees a violation, they will write an order requiring it to be corrected, and an order may allow for a specific period of time to correct the situation. All of this is about worker safety. It's important that you know your job. Have you been shown how to do the job safely? Were there any hazards pointed out to you? What protective equipment do you need to wear? When you're on the job, who do you go to for instructions or help? And what do you do if you need first aid? What do you do in the case of an emergency? Always ask if you do not understand something. Accidents occur when people are not sure about what they're doing. Do not take a risk. Always ask. To do your job safely, make sure you're well rested. Make sure you eat before you start your day. Wear appropriate clothes for the day and the weather. Usually it's a good idea to dress in layers. To start your day safely, bring everything you need, all your safety gear, sunscreen, water and fluids, and a change of clothing if that might be necessary. There might be hazards on the job, for example, heat stress or heat stroke or dehydration. So your control is to drink lots of water, take breaks from the sun, and wear a hat. It is not okay to operate equipment while you're on medication. Some medication makes your vision blurred or makes you tired. So have your supervisor give you other work. Always let your supervisor know if you're taking any medication at all. Drugs and alcohol are completely forbidden during working hours. Do not consume alcohol or use drugs before or during work. Accidents can happen at work when there's a lack of training, a lack of safe work procedures, a lack of proper use of equipment. Farms use many types of equipment and tools, so beware of pinch points, cutting points, and wrap points. All moving machine parts should be covered with a safeguard to keep you safe. Never ever wear scarves, loose laces, or baggy clothes near moving machinery. Forklift safety. Each year workers are injured and killed because someone did not follow safety procedures while using a lift truck. Not following these procedures makes you incompetent and a dangerous operator, and we will not have any of that. To be protected around equipment on the farm, you'll see shielding and guarding of parts, hazard awareness and knowledge, and you'll be trained to work on the equipment that you're using. Always heed warning decals on the equipment as well. Equipment crush points are something to watch out for. They're created when moving objects move toward another, such as when you're hitching the tractor to an implement. If a person is between the objects, they're at risk of getting crushed or pinned. Crush hazards exist when you are working under equipment also that is raised up. Fires and explosions are very real possibilities. Equipment, buildings, or grasslands can catch fire. And because the fire departments are so far away, it's important to prevent fires or explosions. If spills and tools are not cleaned up and put away properly, slip and trip hazards can be created. So keep your work area clean, keep your eyes open, and always be alert. Working from ladders on a raised area poses a risk of falling from heights or breaking bones or causing other injuries. So use ladders properly. And if you're not sure, ask. Machinery and jewelry do not belong together. So jewelry such as rings, earrings. It is a terrible thing when jewelry gets caught in the machinery. Don't wear it. Noise and vibration can also be a hazard on the farm. So make sure you wear hearing protection when it's appropriate. Electricity can also be a hazard on the job. Moving equipment near power lines can be dangerous. Equipment might be too high and come into contact with power lines. So be prepared, always be alert. Temperature can be a hazard. Extreme temperature can cause immediate or long-term health problems, and exposure to cold can lead to hypothermia. So dress in layers, wear appropriate clothes. Repeated exposure to the sun can increase your risk of health issues such as wrinkly skin, aging, skin cancer, lip cancer, and damage to your eyes. So protect yourself accordingly. Hazardous chemicals can be used on the farm to control weeds, insects, and disease. So learn about the hazards associated with the chemicals that we use here on the farm. Even household chemicals can kill. Never mix chemicals together. Always read the labels and follow instructions. Even things in nature can be hazards. There might be rabid animals, dead animals, mosquitoes and ticks and bees. Make sure you understand your job. Have you read the company safety rules? Do you understand them? Check all equipment before you use it or start it, and always do a circle check of vehicles. Only certain people are allowed to operate machinery. If you have not been trained or authorized, do not touch it. The Act states that equipment operators must be competent, handle all equipment properly and safety, and use it only for the intended purpose. If you're performing a task in which eye injury could occur, you're required to wear CSA-approved eyeglasses, and your supervisor will make sure you have them. If not, ask. Hand protection gloves. Where there's a danger to your hands from exposure to pesticides, substances, or safety hazards like sharp or hot items, proper gloves are required. Hygiene is always important, but even more so this year. Wash your hands frequently. Wash your hands with running water. Apply soap. Rub your hands for 20 seconds. Clean your fingernails. Rinse thoroughly and dry completely. Do it often. Always use the right tool for the job, or you might as well be using stone tools. Don't substitute or make do with something else. It can and has led to serious accidents. A lockout tag is a safety procedure that's used to ensure that dangerous equipment is properly shut off and tagged so it can't be started up again until it is appropriate. Keeping your work area clean is part of your job. Return tools and equipment to where you got them. There's a place for everything, and everything should be in its place. Don't perform emergency repairs or makeshift repairs unless someone tells you to do so. Report all defects immediately so they can be repaired properly. Always follow standard operating procedures for your job. Don't take shortcuts, and always refer to the equipment manual when you're in doubt. Farm workers often work long hours during certain times of the year, and it can make you pretty tired. Make sure that you get a good night's sleep and come to work refreshed. Before starting a new project or new job, discuss it, plan the job, and keep a positive attitude about it. When working near any moving equipment, make sure that the operator sees you. When operating equipment, make sure that you are watching for pedestrians and obstacles. Make sure you can account for everyone before moving. When equipment needs to be repaired, shut it down for service. Disengage the power, shut off the engine, take the key, wait for all parts to stop. When operating moving equipment, do it safely. There's only one seat on a tractor, one seat on a forklift. No extra riders. Be safe. When carrying a load, make sure that it is low to the ground and set properly. No riders. No riders allowed on any equipment. When working at heights, when working with ladders, even when working on a level surface, falls can occur. Be aware of your surroundings and be alert. What you wear on your feet matters. Wear slip-resistant footwear appropriate for your job. Trips can occur when there's poor lighting, clutter on the floor, when you can't see clearly. So keep your work area clear and always be alert. So to prevent slips and falls, keep your work area clear, wear proper footwear, keep steps clear, don't carry anything in your hands while you're climbing up a ladder, and keep both hands on your ladder when you're climbing up or down. When you're using a ladder, make sure you pick the right one for the job. Make sure it's stable, don't carry things in your hands, and make sure you hold on and don't lose your balance. This slide demonstrates the proper use for lifting objects. Put your feet flat on the ground, back straight, and use your legs to lift. Anyone can strain themselves from lifting, reaching, pushing, or pulling. So it's your job to be responsible and always use safe lifting practices. When it's appropriate, use a mechanical lift rather than lifting it yourself. When moving with a load, hold it as close to your body as possible, about at your middle center. Set your load down carefully by squatting with the knees and hips only. Always bend your knees when lifting something heavy. Do not bend over to pick it up. If it's too heavy, get help. Teamwork is always better. So always bend your knees when you're lifting something heavy. Don't twist your body when you're carrying a load. Turn your feet. And when you're ready, set the load down by bending your knees. When you see any kind of hazard, report it to your supervisor or your health and safety worker. Make sure that the hazard is corrected before work continues. Make sure that materials are stacked and piled properly and are stable, and don't put things where they're going to block traffic. Fuel should only be stored in approved containers, and always properly cap these containers when they're not in use. A clean work area will reduce the chance of any accident or injury, so take time to make sure that rubbish and obstacles are removed. Be prepared to work in all types of weather and know and understand the hazards of severe weather. When we do have severe weather, do not stay out in the open. Don't be underneath a tree or a tall structure, but go inside as soon as possible. The best shelter is a large, stable building. And if you can't get into a building, a vehicle with a solid metal roof and metal sides is a good choice. Be safe in severe weather. Vehicles are safe because of their metal shell. In severe weather, do seek shelter in a building or a car. Avoid trees. Get off your bike, get off your motorcycle, get off your equipment. Do not lie down, and don't return to the area until 30 minutes after the storm has passed. In the event of a tornado, stay away from windows and doors and outside walls. Don't open the windows, get into the basement, or find an interior room. Cover yourself in blankets and towels and wait it out. This is what the fire extinguisher looks like, and these are what all the parts are. If you have to use the fire extinguisher, pull the pin and then aim the nozzle at the base of the fire. Squeeze the handle and then sweep it from side to side. In case of an emergency, make sure you know where all the telephones are located. Make sure you know the emergency numbers you need to call, and make sure you know the addresses and directions for finding the farm and where you might be. Whenever there is an injury, make sure that you report it to your supervisor. The Workplace Safety and Insurance Board has a poster at work as well. It outlines responsibilities of all parties when an injury occurs. The WSIB has requirements for trained first aid people in the workplace. It also regulates the contents that will be in a first aid kit and regulates that these should be in trucks and work sites throughout the farm. Here in Ontario, it is illegal to smoke in the workplace. Smoking is only permitted in designated areas. Smoking poses a fire risk. Smoking is not permitted. This video reference on how to be safe in the workplace is available for you anytime. So no excuses. Work safely, go home in one piece, and remember, we're all in this together.